which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. I just feel like it's a prayer afterwards.
Commissioner Callahan?
Present.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Present.
Commissioner Lees? Commissioner Brooks?
Present.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Present.
Commissioner De Pasquale? Chairman Morelli?
Present.
Commissioners Lees and De Pasquale are absent. Let the record indicate the presence of Deputy Corporation Counsel Joseph Lupo. Just one announcement for tonight,
Case number 3385, I believe it is.
3384.
Yeah, oh, that's right, 3384, James and Kelly Fruhat, 511 West Fulton, has been adjourned. If anyone's here interested in that case, it'll be on the calendar next time? Or
January, most
January, yeah, that's right. Because we have a December 18th meeting for anybody who's here. There will be another zoning meeting in 2 weeks. Okay.
Case number 3479, application of Carly Meltzer of 74 Dalton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8C front yard, 9-105.8F building area for a one-story front yard addition at 74 Dalton Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 182, Lot 12, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Applicant present? Come on up, please. Come up and please state your name and address for the record.
How are you? Carly Meltzer, 74 Dalton Street.
Okay, I just want to clarify
Thank you.
something, Ms. Meltzer,
Yeah.
before we
Thank
start, right? We had like 2 sets of photos, and from what we saw on the plans, this looked like 74 Dalton. This is your house?
Correct.
All right. What are these other homes then that are marked 74 Dalton that were included
I
in
think
the
that's
pack?
across the street.
Okay, well then it's not 74, it's got another, okay. So just for the record then, these are just other homes
Across
that
the
are in the
street.
vicinity across the street?
Yeah.
Because it got a little confusing when we saw one home was listed as 76 Dalton, the other one was
The blue one is
74.
74.
It should have been odd numbers anyway, probably, if they were across the street, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 75, 77. All right, so that clears that up. So basically, in reviewing the application, what it appears to me, and I just, correct me if I'm wrong, you have basically a set of steps that go up at one direction and from the other direction, leading to a little center area landing in front of the door. So your plan is to enclose that, okay? And what's the purpose of that? Is it going to be like a mudroom?
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, exactly. It's a mudroom. I just had
Okay.
a baby, so all the stuff is now in, like when you first walk into my living
Okay.
room. So just to
So
give myself a little bit more space.
When you look at it from the front, basically, and you look at the plan, you're eliminating the staircase, it seems, that's on the left-hand side. So you're going to remove that entire stair and end it
Correct.
right there. The staircase that's on the right-hand side, if you will, is that going to be the same dimension, or is that getting changed in
So
position?
That would be the door where you would enter from there. So it would be
Okay.
the same footprint, but you'd enter
Okay. So
like facing the main road, I guess.
then the
It's like-
structure is just going to be a little bit higher than the front door, am I correct?
Correct. The structure is going to be where the same footprint as the landing is
Okay.
currently.
Then where you have the little garden in the front of the house,
Not touching that.
not touching it, that's what I wanted to know. So basically, to kind of summarize it, from the plan that I reviewed, is that you're building an extension of the home that's basically going to cover the landing, right? It's not extending further out. It's
no.
covering the landing that's already there in that dimension. You're going to put only one set of stairs going up to the landing from the right-hand side, and there will be the front door at that location.
Correct.
There will be no other door added to any other part of the house.
Correct.
Okay. Again, it will not intrude on the front yard setback any more than the original patio or deck or stoop, if you want to call it, is already intruding on the setback.
Correct.
Okay. Do any members of the board have any questions?
Maybe I do. So that small addition is taking the building area from 41% to 48?
It seems like a lot to me. I don't know where they're getting, I don't know how it's being calculated.
Well, do you know? So
From the plans that I read, it's going to be an addition of 35 square feet. So right now, so it's not a structure technically, right? It's an open porch. So by enclosing it, it adds to the actual, the building area, to the size of the building area by adding that those 35 square feet to the current footprint of the house.
I guess that looks like 7% of that, right? I guess you can make that argument.
Yeah.
Depends how many hairs we want to split, right? Anyone else? Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak in favor or against? All right, I'll move to grant.
Second.
Who's second? Who said that?
Everybody.
Everybody. Case number 3479, application of Carly Metzler of 74 Dalton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8C front yard, 9-105.8F building area, for a one-story front yard addition at 74 Dalton Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 182, Lot 12, on the Nassau County Milling Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Markowitz has seconded the motion. Commissioner Callahan?
Grant.
Commissioner Markowitz?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Alvarado?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli.
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Thank you.
You're good.
Have a great night, everyone.
Congratulations.
Case number 3480, application of 5 East Walnut RE LLC, care of Maxwell Post, of 84 Curly Street, Long Beach, New York.
Joe.
Sorry. How long then from granted to permit does it take?
Just contact the building department tomorrow. They'll have a notification that you were granted, and then they'll send you a letter with the next steps.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Case number 3480, application of 5 East Walnut RE LLC, care of Maxwell Post of 84 Curly Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.2K, use in order to convert a doctor's office into a two-family house at 5 East Walnut Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 97, Lot 41, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Alexander Phillips. I'm of counsel to Kenneth Apple, who was not able to be present here this evening. Tonight, we're here on behalf of the applicant seeking a variance, which in the past has been granted as close as directly across the street. A little history and the background of the property. 5 East Walnut is located directly next to and behind the commercial property of its west and north. To the east is another home, so essentially the property is next to two commercial properties. It is the first home on the block on East Walnut, heading east from Edwards Boulevard. It is a Residence C, which up until now, to 2001, would have allowed this applicant to be granted without a variance. It is a two-family zone. As a matter of fact, there are 11 homes on the block which are two-family status. As a matter of fact, in April of 2001, Mr. Apple represented the applicant of 270 Edwards in a case number 3221, where he sought to convert a one apartment and a doctor's office into a two-family, and the application was unanimously granted. I think the main distinction in this case, as opposed to any other applicants like this, is this home has had two separate units since 1947, when it was converted to a one-family and a doctor's office. It remained that way until 2007, when the doctor made use of the separate apartment and extra space for their office. Currently, it is set up as a completely divided two-unit residence, and we are merely seeking to maintain that. The apartment is a one-bedroom to the west side with a separate entrance down the west side of the home. The applicant has plans to renovate the doctor's portion to make it into a four-bedroom home, which he has plans to move into with his wife, whom he just married in October of this year. They currently reside at 84 Curly, and the home they discovered has major mold and health issues, forcing them to vacate the home and rent a home in the West End. There's a likelihood, based on the extent of the issues, they will be forced to dump the home and use this as their residence in the future. Another extremely important consideration in regard to the application is the fact that there is more than ample parking, which will prevent any strain in the neighborhood. That is a driveway on the east side of the home, which runs the full 100-foot length of the home, and if you look at the survey, there are 3 parking spaces in the rear of the home. This is a clear distinction in the case, eliminating one of the board's and the neighbor's largest concerns. to go through some legal criteria, strictly application of the zoning ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship in that this is two separate units and have been since 1947. Converting the back takes away use of the property and creates a financial burden which would exist if not for a 2001 code change. Again, this is a two-family zone, and a two-family use is consistent with the neighborhood. This does not alter essential character of the neighborhood, nor does it impair the appropriate use of the adjacent properties. This is not a substantial request to allow the apartment to remain intact, as it is for nearly 70 years. With all the business that surround the property too close to center of town, this would create less of an impact to the neighborhood. Thank you.
So, Mr. Phillips, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
First off, I don't know if you want to answer on the applicant, but now you mentioned that they were residing at 84 Curly. Did they own that, or did they rent that house?
I believe they own that house.
Okay, you want to just give me your name and address for the record, sir? Please.
My name is Max Post, and I do own 84
Okay,
Curly with my
so
wife.
how long have you been at 84 Curly?
Since November 2023.
23.
We're
So
no-
what happened with the mold situation then?
So we had not been feeling well for months. We were planning our wedding. We didn't want to, we sourced some mold in our closet of our bedroom. We had a handyman basically come scrape it off maybe 9 months back. We still were waking up in the middle of the night. My dog was wheezing, and I had terrible, kind of very itchy eyes. So we then, 2 days after we got married, we had an actual New York State inspector come out to inspect the home for mold, and he literally called my wife at work and said, get the dog out of the house right now. So we've since been renting in the West End. So it's been
Okay.
a pain.
So now, basically, Mr. Phillips mentioned that you would then want to live in this home. What are you going to do with the house that's on Dalton, on Curly?
So we spoke with architects, and we're kind of just weighing our options on whether to completely remediate the home or raise the home and remediate that way, which was the plan either way at some point to, raise the home. We weren't planning on doing this when I bought this. We weren't going to plan on doing both projects at the same time because, like I said, we just got married. But our 100% use of this home now moving forward, unfortunately for us, is going to be as our primary home.
Okay, so the situation exists that the city, and as you mentioned, Mr. Phillips mentioned, in the year of 2001, I think it was, they basically put a moratorium on the two-family usage in that area. So the homes, and I think it was maybe even 12 and not 11, but the homes that were there that were two families now became non-conforming uses, if you will, because they are not subjected to the code. So the fact that there are 12 or 11 two-family homes on that block, at this point, as relates to the code basically has banned the two-family homes. So the fact that there are two-family homes that were built probably in the 40s and 50s, knowing some of those homes are non-conforming. So my question is, if we were to allow this home that has been now, let's say, subdivided into two apartments and at one point became a sole usage as a doctor's office, okay, is this now going back against the code, which, as you portrayed it, is basically a two-family zone? But technically, it isn't a two-family zone because the city changed that in 2001. So technically, right now, it's back to a one-family zone. So I don't know that anything that is there is really of right. Am I wrong, or am I correct on that?
Well, it was as right at the time, but the intent of the city in changing the code is a clear demonstration that whether it was to reduce density or to, regulate traffic, parking, whatever the intent of the time in 2001 was, there was a clear and distinct intent to ensure that there were no more two-family homes in Residence C. So
Gotcha.
the fact that there are prior non-conforming uses is almost irrelevant because at one time it was permitted, it is just not permitted anymore. That's why we're here, that's why we know that.
Okay. Now, also, as it relates to the application, Mr. Phillips, and then, if Mr. Post wants to, add, it appears that although it is within the code height, part of this project also mentions adding another story to the home, am I correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so my question is, even though that further expansion basically is within the height limit of the present code, it just appears, and my question is, it is a little different situation as I see it, as what would be a home that exists as is, just like the other homes that are on that block existed as two families as is. And if you are coming to us for a variance, let's say, or to get relief, to keep this structure as it exists as a two-family home with a small apartment and however the doctor, cut it up, let's say, in 2007, my question is, by adding this additional floor now, even though the height is within the code, basically part of this variance application is to expand this house even further, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm not sure, that's all I ask counsel, how does that fit in to the overall request? Because even though it doesn't come up on the denial because the height is within the code, it changes the complexity a little bit because we're increasing a non-conforming use to be even a little more non-conforming. I
No,
just
no,
want to make
so-
sure that
so-
I have it correct.
So essentially, if I'm understanding you correctly, right, it kind of goes to the character of the neighborhood, right? So
Okay.
if this home was presently a two-family home that was prior non-conforming, but grandfathered in, if you will, right? And they were maintaining the same footprint, but wanted to make certain interior alterations, and maybe it triggered a variance, then I think it's a stronger argument to say that, listen, maybe we need this one variance for whatever it is, for a reason X. But the fact that now, even though that adding a third floor might fit within the height requirement, because the city, my position would be is that because the city put a moratorium on two-family homes in 2001, now to take this home that's essentially just a doctor's office and now make it back into a two-family home, but then expand the elements of the two-family home by another floor, is further kind of scoffing at the law that's on the books, or the regulation that's on the books, because it's just that much more of an expansion of a non-conforming use that's not that's not prior, that's, that they are seeking relief from the code for.
Okay.
But Mr. Post could add a floor as long as it's one family use.
Listen, you know what? 100% correct. If if it fits within the confines of the height requirement, yeah, absolutely. But I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman, is that what you're saying is by adding the second floor, it's kind of,
Even though the height is legal.
even though the height is legal, it's just a little bit more, and I don't want to use the term egregious, but it's a little bit more a blatant disregard of the current regulations on the books. That the city intentionally changed in 2001 for whatever the legislative intent of the time was.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead,
to the
Mr.
board?
Phillips.
So, let's assume for a moment that it was a legal two-family house,
Sure.
and he came for a variance for height, to put additional floor. Would he lose his rights to have it as a two-family home? I understand the argument that you're bringing up. I'm just saying that if we were a two-family house and we came here for a variance for height variance, would we lose the two-family house status if we had a CO for a two-family?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So I understand the argument. It just, in terms of what's going on, we're in a situation where the house was used with a doctor's office and an apartment, and there's 2 units. And for whatever reason, that doctor, or whoever owned the house prior to 2001, didn't do the proper things to make sure that it would have a two-family status, and that's why we're here. I don't know if necessarily putting the second floor on the house negates why we're seeking, why we're seeking the variance to have a two-family.
Listen, I actually agree with you, Counselor, that the addition of the other floor doesn't in and of itself negate the request for the variance. In fact, you know, the height isn't even an issue. That can
Right.
be done as of right.
Right.
And I concede that point. However, where I think that I differ is that your representation that the doctor didn't do what he needed to do to maintain two-family status is incorrect, in the sense that the doctor did exactly what he intended to do by making it all one office, because he came here and sought a variance to do that. So he intentionally made it just a doctor's office post-2001. And at that time, it was probably more in line with the current code, in the sense that prior to him seeking that variance in 2007, it was a mixed use, and he was able to do that. Then in 2000, but now in 2001, the code changed and said no more two families in this area. The legislative intent, I don't know it off the top of my head, I can look it up. But I'm anticipating that it probably has something to do with density and parking, right? With that, you know, he actually, or arguably, put less of an impact on the neighborhood, because he wasn't making it a two-family home. Yes, it was a doctor's office, but, you know, there's a big difference in, for lack of a better term, if you have a dentist or a psychiatrist, let's say, ordinarily they have scheduled times, right? Like, let's say it's a psychiatrist with 45-minute appointments. It's maybe one person in the waiting room for 15 minutes while one person is in with the psychiatrist. Not every doctor's office operates like an urgent care, let's say, right? Where there's a plethora of traffic. So I'm thinking that, and again, this is also speculative, and I admit that at the time that the doctor sought to make this just a doctor's office, that the zoning board in 2001 was like, well, I'm sorry, in 2007, looked at it, well, okay, there's already 11 or 12 non-conforming pre-existing uses on this block. This variance is not being sought to go against the code that was recently changed. This is actually just seeking it to make it one single use. So it's not substantial in the fact that, you know, he's asking for all that much, because he already had the doctor's office, he just wanted to make it only a doctor's office. I think now, because the code was changed, and now to make it a two-family, I think it kind of goes, and again, I don't have a vote, I'm just here as legal counsel to this board.
I understand.
You know, I think that it kind of cuts against the argument that the request isn't substantial. I do agree that, you know, like the balancing test, right, we weigh these factors, right? And there's no one factor that's necessarily dispositive or determinative in and of itself. So the argument can definitely be made that, well, there's 11 other homes that are prior non-conforming uses that are two-family. So there's an argument there that it is not out of character with the neighborhood. Okay. And I would agree with that. It probably is not out of character, but that in and of itself isn't enough, because there are other factors. So, and again, I don't have a vote, but is it substantial? I would argue, because the code was only, I mean, Jesus, 2001 was 24 years ago, but it wasn't 70 years ago that it was changed. I mean, and there was an intent there. If the intent was to allow greater density and greater development, I would have to imagine that going on 3 years ago now, when the city redid its comprehensive plan, it would have made those recommendations in residency, and it did not. So I don't think it's as clear-cut as just because there are other two-family homes there, and just because they have the right to add another floor as of right without seeking a height requirement, that in and of itself is determinative here. I think that there are other factors that the board has to consider.
Okay, I think you and I are on the same page, so I'll say this. If it was a two-family house, they're gonna, if they were gonna put a second floor and they're gonna create two, let's say, 3-bedroom or 2 4-bedroom apartments, right? And now we have a lot more people, and obviously at that point, sometimes when you have a 3-bedroom, you can be renting to 2 or 3, at least 2 related parties, which will have 2 cars, right?
Sure.
Now, this is a 1-bedroom, right? The apartment in the back is a 1-bedroom. So it's a 1-bedroom apartment, it's a small apartment. it's a small, it's a one-bedroom, small apartment, so we're not gonna have a lot of people, right? So the apartment itself is not gonna create a real problem for parking. We have 3 spaces in the back. You're gonna maintain the 3, right? You're gonna maintain the 3 spaces in the back. We only have 1 person back there. So in terms of, you talk about density, and then you talk about the spirit of why you don't have 2 families. I think the spirit of the 2-family is, the spirit of not having more 2-family houses is definitely, and I've lived in Long Beach now almost 30 years, right? And let's all face it, this place is crazy in the summer when it comes to parking, right? Even I have 2 spaces and I have problems. So I think that when you look at the spirit of what goes on in Long Beach in terms of density and parking and everything else, as long as the apartment is not larger than that 1-bedroom apartment and he maintains the space, I don't see any hardship or going outside the spirit of why the code was changed to prohibit more 2-family houses, right? Because prohibiting the more 2-family houses is to make sure you don't take a 50 by 100 lot that had, let's say, a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom single floor, and all of a sudden put a 2-story, now have 2, 3, or 4-bedroom apartments, and now you increase how many people are on the block. And again, if you're renting to single people or whatever, it creates a problem. I think here where it's 1 bedroom in the rear, I don't see the burden. I don't see the burden on the community or going so far outside the intent of the changing the zoning from not allowing 2-family houses.
I have a
The
question.
intent is 2 families, not 2 families of a certain size.
I agree, but this is almost more like an auxiliary apartment.
That's not what the variance says.
I think another
I
aspect.
have several questions.
Yeah.
By all
May I?
means, Marcus. Yes.
Okay, all right. So first of all, my first question is, why do you want to change it from a 1-family to a 2-family? In other words, right now it's zoned for 1 family. Why do you want to change it to 2-family?
Because, because there's 2, there've been 2 units, so it's a mixed use, so just,
Why do you want to change it? Why can't you just have 1 family in there?
The reason was to basically help the cost of the home, right? There's an entrance way there. all right?
So it's a financial reason.
Correct.
Okay, so if it's a financial reason, can you realize your return if it's just 1 family?
I still think that, yes. I mean,
Yes, right?
It depends, really. There have to be more plans
And it's your intent to live in this house or no?
correct, yes.
If it was your intent to live in this house, why was the house purchased as an LLC?
That was prior to finding mold in the home.
Okay. So you purchased the house with the intent to live in the house before you found mold in the home?
No, we purchased the home as an investment property.
Okay. And as an investment property, you wanted 2-family in there in order to make more money on your investment?
Correct.
Right. But you realize that you can still make money on your investment if it's just a 1-family? Right?
Per debate, I would say.
Right.
Could we still make money on my investment? I mean, it depends on, I'd have to check the plans and things like that, but, yeah, I mean,
All right, let me rephrase it this way. You've given us no documentation to set forth that you cannot realize a return unless it's a 2-family. You've given us nothing. But you're telling me, you're saying, well, I may be able to get the money back, I may not be able to get the money back, but we don't have anything in front of us.
my intent isn't to flip the house.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying to realize your return, okay? Whether that with the mortgage and the taxes and the insurance and the upkeep, okay? I'm asking you, with all that, can you realize your return if it's just a 1-family?
I would say compared to a 2-family, no.
Right, but you've given us no documentation to demonstrate that.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to ask us to change, you gotta understand, we're the zoning board, we're the exception to the rule.
Right.
The rule is it's a 1-family. Yeah, there were 11 private homes, agreed. All of them were done before the rule was changed. So we have to follow the rules. The rules are one family, okay? Fair enough, one family. So in order to change it, we have to follow the law. One of the issues in terms of changing use variance is you cannot realize a return. The hardship is unique, will not alter the character of the neighborhood, and the hardship is not self-created. Well, first of all, the hardship would be self-created because you haven't done the construction yet, right? Because you're asking for the variance, okay? Will not alter the character of the neighborhood. We were all discussing that before. I'm not going to go into that. But cannot realize a return. You've given us you're speculating now as to whether or not you can or cannot realize a return. I suspect that you probably can realize a return, but just not as much as you want. Okay. And I don't understand here as being on this board, why it has to be two-family. Why can't it just be one family?
So, on the issue on a rate of return, that's something that we're gonna have to adjourn and come back. Because you're now,
Am I wrong, counsel?
I'm-
You're asking for a change of use, right?
I'm addressing what you're saying, right?
Right.
So, right, you're now going on rate of return, right? So, the only way to figure out the rate of return, the house was purchased when? July of this year. So we have current tariffs on building materials. We'd have to really price out everything on all the renovations and then add all that into whatever the cost of a house was, and then come back to you with that full analysis, if that's what you're asking for.
I'm just going what the law says.
And I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying that I am not prepared for that. That's a valid question, and today, I'm not prepared to give that answer. I don't believe the client's prepared to give that answer.
Okay.
I'm not saying that answer can't be given, and I'm not saying that analysis can't be made. It's a fair question, but then we'd have to adjourn this to come back for another meeting and submit that to you.
I would think, Joe, that would be his decision as to whether or not to adjourn. It wouldn't be ours, per se.
Well, at this point now, the request to adjourn hasn't been made, and you did already begin your presentation. So if it is your intention, or your client's intention, to provide document, it's not that we would adjourn tonight, it's just that we wouldn't vote on this tonight, and we would hold the hearing open, so that way evidence can still be submitted. And we do that often. Because sometimes, the hardship, in a different hypothetical, in a different scenario, the hardship is maybe the person can no longer afford their home and they need an apartment, and they will literally provide tax returns, their bank statements, everything to show what their income is, what their expenses are, and how they might need an apartment in order to just to afford their home, right?
And I understand exactly where, I completely understand where the board is coming from, and Mr. Markowitz, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I understand where his question, and it's 100% valid.
But
The only
with
problem is
that-
today, is impossible to give that.
Also, no, and I understand, and we're not here to just, be like, oh, well, you know what, you lost your bite at the apple, you didn't bring it, like, that's, like, if that is a serious issue, then that is definitely something that the board, I believe, would be willing to hold open and
Yeah.
allow you to submit, that
That's
evidence.
fair and reasonable, because at this point, Mr. Phillips certainly wasn't prepared, the applicant wasn't prepared.
And we also understand
Mr.
that
Markowitz
Mr. Apple
raised a good point
wasn't available.
in the use variance.
I don't
And
think,
at
I don't
this
think Mr.
point,
Apple would be prepared for that question either.
No, no,
if you've done the presentation, there's no point to have him come back, and do another presentation.
The only other thing that I would also want you to consider is that just because there would be more of a return with a second, with an accessory apartment, if you will, doesn't mean that there would not be any return with, if it was a one-family, right? So it's not, so the hardship isn't, well, I could make more money. The hardship is that if I don't do this, I'm really in a terrible position.
So if I'm not mistaken, just make sure I understand Mr. Markowitz, right?
Yes, sir.
The hardship, right, is from now, whatever the construction costs are to modify the home, and what the interest is to finance the project and live in the home, right?
Sure.
And are their tax returns, right, their income, is their income enough or something adequate to have them live comfortably? And is the one-bedroom apartment of the, let's say it's a small one-bedroom, want to say $1,500, $1,800 a month in rent, 2,700?
2,500, I would say.
Okay, $2,500 a month in rent,
How many bedrooms is it?
It would be a one bed, yeah.
yeah.
I thought you said 3, and I was like, well, that's.
But you
pretty
also
good.
have to take into account their asset presently that they have on Curly Street.
That
Right.
asset on Curly Street might be a total loss.
I don't
Because of the
know.
mo- I don't
have
know.
no idea.
Right, and I don't know either. And if the question, right, so the question now is, I'm not, what you're saying is 100% valid. I can't, there's no rabbit that I could pull out of my hat to answer that question. There's nothing. There's no, I can be fancy in a courtroom, but that question, there's nothing I can articulate. There's no snake, I cannot be a snake oil salesman on that question. It's impossible. Okay? So the only way to do it is to do a pure financial analysis. One, financial analysis on the house on Curly Street. Is the house on Curly Street truly a total loss? What is it going to cost to rehabilitate that home? And then in this situation, the same thing. Combine the whole scenario and then present to you the financial situation and prove that there's a hardship.
Counts, it's very simple. Asset, right?
I got it.
Income, expenses, liability.
Listen, do I mean, I think I come here pretty, I think I presented that from what you're saying from a very intelligent side. You know, I'm a real estate investor also. I run my own, I'm an attorney, I run a business, I'm well
Counsel,
invested
I
in
don't
the
think
stock
you're-
market, I
I
get
don't
it.
think anyone here is questioning your abilities.
No, that's correct. We're not
Yeah,
questioning.
Right, so,
But
why
the
not-
one thing
but
I
I
will
would like to
also say
leave,
is,
I'd like to leave it open if we can and come
We
back.
can.
Of course.
But the only other thing that that I do also want to bring up, just for the sake of the record, is before your clients purchased the home, they did see the C of O. They did see the home. They knew what they were buying. They knew, or arguably should have known, what the zoning code was.
100% correct, but the Curly Street, the mold has now has created a little bit of a spark of a problem. So since that has created the problem, let's see if what Mr. Markowitz has a very valid point. There should be some financial hardship. Let's see if we can get their accountant, let's get some building specs, and let's get a whole thing together and put some financials in front of you, and then you can decide whether or not this is a true hardship. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
You guys are fantastic.
When you come back, can you please bring drawings of what you're proposing?
100% they'll bring drawings.
Other than,
They would like to see a full set of
Like
plans.
of the apartment, let's see what the apartment's would look
Can
like.
I ask one question too? So
Absolutely.
Is there a potential for the price tag on to remedy the mold? It's gonna end up leading you to put that house up for sale as is?
Dick, possible. Anything's possible. I don't, again, do you have a price? Have you estimated what it costs to completely remediate that mold?
yes.
Okay, so then, I don't, again, I can't, the question,
And it's,
every,
So
you're-
that's pretty necessary then?
100%.
Yeah.
Your question and Mr. Markowitz's questions are 100% valid. I understand exactly where the board is coming from, but there is no way for me, like I said, to give an answer until either I sit down with this lovely couple, or Mr. Apple sits down with them, an accountant, an architect, a builder, and we get everything out, and then come back to you guys and show what is truly going on. If that's fair, I mean, I think what you guys have, I've given my arguments on the other side, which I think my arguments on the other side are strong enough to at least get me to the point of, hey, is there a financial hardship? If there's a financial hardship, maybe we'll consider this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's find out if let's find
All
out if
right,
that's
so
the case.
then, what I would say is, first of all, I have to ask if there's anyone in the audience for or against the project, which there isn't. And so, Mr. Phillips, thank you very much for your good presentation. The case will remain open for voting, and it'll give you guys time to put the docs together and just submit them to the board. You won't have to come back up here for another hearing.
And just so you know, so if come January, maybe scheduling is an issue and you don't have everything together, either yourself or Mr. Apple could just email us and ask for an additional month if you need, and we could do that as well.
And we've had a successful hearing.
Okay.
Do you know Oscar Michelin?
No.
Oh, I do. He does look like him, yeah.
Oscar was my first boss out of law school, and I thought you were him walking in. You're a fantastic attorney.
Oscar's a very nice man.
Yes.
I'm sure he is. Anybody named Oscar's a nice one. Named after a green monster. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Stay well.
Thank you, folks.
Case number 3481, application of Will Hallett of 5 Maryland Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.19F side yard, 9-105.19G rear yard, for proposed side yard stairs and to maintain rear yard stairs at 5 Maryland Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 58, Block 88, Lot 126 of the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening. Name and address, please.
Good evening. Rebecca Weavers, 66 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York. I'm here from Gallinaro representing Will Hallett. So we are asking for a variance for the side yard. We are proposing 0.5 feet in the west side yard. And this is due to, as we elevate the houses, we have to have an electrical meter at a certain height. This height thus requires a platform and stair to be able to read the meter, which would just lead us to have a random small platform on the side. Instead of doing that, we move the meter to the rear of the home where there's already a deck and put a stair up to that existing deck. So it's easy access to read the meter, and this also allows for a second means of egress. The other thing that we're coming before the board today is for rear yard. We're proposing to maintain a rear yard of 0.5 feet, and this is really just for the stair. We initially designed the stair to be inside the footprint of this new deck. However, in the process of building, the contractor made a mistake and put it aligned with the proposed wood deck or the existing wood deck that's on grade. As we know, the height of this wood deck being where it is didn't require a variance. The contractor didn't realize this and aligned it to the wood deck, which is why we're here before you today.
Instead of talking to the contractor?
No, we did. We, once we saw what was done, we had talked to the building department, and they told us to come before the board and see if it would be approved prior to having removal of the stair and reconstruction.
Can you just run me by the electric meter thing again?
Absolutely.
Look at the drawing.
So when, as you know, for elevating the houses, we have to have the electrical meter above the design flood elevation. And PSE&G gives us an allocated elevation that we're required minimum. This put the electrical meter above 6 feet, where you're required to then have a platform and stair to access it. So instead of just having a small random platform on the side of the dwelling, we decided to move it to the rear and have a stair going up to the existing approved deck. So it's connected to the existing dwelling, looks more visually satisfying, and it allows for another second means of egress from that deck.
Which you don't need.
No, we don't need it, just a added bonus.
It's the convenience for the electric meter.
Yes, correct.
The situation, though, I mean, it sounds on one level innocent, but the problem is, and I would have a question, is that having this entire deck on the back of the house could possibly lend itself to have the house rented or as a, I'm not saying that your applicant is going to do it, but it would be conveniently refigurable to have another apartment back there, and a rented apartment, because now they have a really true center to enter the apartment separately from the rest of the house.
If you look
Am I
at,
correct?
you are correct in what you're saying. However, if you look at the pictures, this house is just being renovated to be a one-family home, and they have no intentions by any means of making it anything but that.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem, I must say. You know, because over the years, you know, we've seen too many people that, you know, that started out with one-family homes, and they were large homes. You know, 5 Maryland is obviously close to the beach, and then decided that, hey, you know, I could put a one-bedroom apartment in the back of this thing. And as you heard the case before, you know, realize another $2,500 of income a month, nobody will be the wiser. I've already got the staircase there, and it could lend itself to that.
Even if we did it the other way, with having a landing separately, that could also lend itself to the same situation by just putting a door at the landing. So either way, it's the same situation.
I literally just tried to like expand the paper like I do.
I do that all the time.
Quick question for you,
Yeah.
and maybe, and if you said it, I apologize, I didn't hear you. The deck on the rear of the home, that's for the electrical equipment from PSE&G?
No, the rear one is not. It's the one on the side.
The side deck, okay.
Like, the rear deck is where,
Because when Mr. Markowitz said, I'm sorry, when Mr.
We get
Franklin-
confused we get confused these.
Alvarado, I didn't want to say Acevedo. I'm sorry, when Mr. Alvarado had said that the stairwell, the stairs on the back of the deck were to access, or, you know, for the convenience of the utilities, I thought you said that's correct, but,
maybe I misheard him.
okay, so then maybe it was just a miscommunication.
Yeah.
So, so the stairway on the back, to the back of the house, the one that's encroaching beyond the existing variance for the rear yard, that's just to get to the second level deck to enjoy love?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, got it. So that has nothing to do with the utility tank?
That's correct.
So it would be fair to say you can just remove those stairs. I mean, there would be a cost, but you could do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you mind telling me what's on the second floor and what's on the third floor? Like, what's the breakdown?
I don't have the full plan in front of me to recall, but I know the first floor is, you know, garage, and then the second floor is the open living space. So we have our living room, kitchen, and dining room, another bathroom, and then the third floor is mainly all the bedrooms, I believe.
So the third floor is just bedrooms?
And there's like an open den, I believe, as well.
Okay. Essentially, what we're fearing is the two apartments, they would have to add another kitchen,
Correct.
right?
Not that hard to do.
No, I know.
No, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's done all the time. But, okay, I mean, it may not make that much of a difference in terms of, as Ms. Weaver said, you know, if they were gonna just put a door in the back, nobody would probably see it, and they could subdivide it that way too, if they really wanted to. The question is whether or not, in my opinion, you know, contractors make mistakes all the time, but most of the time they have to own up for their mistakes though, too. And, you know, they have liability insurance and, you know, they don't always get a free pass, you know, so.
That's why I was gonna ask.
The contract, I mean, and this is not directed at you, just generally, it seems that the contractor's mistakes always seem to go against the code in one way, shape, or form. You know, for a, I'm not saying it's the case here by any means, but for a disingenuous, you know, variance, you know, almost a forced variance, if you will, right? Where somebody's like, well, you know, I understand I built the house 3 feet too high, but now it's gonna cost me $80,000 to correct that. Sorry. And that's kind of an issue. I mean,
Well, that's why I was gonna ask. If you are going to remove the stairs, who would cover that cost? Would it be the contractor?
I believe so.
Okay. So it wouldn't be the homeowner?
No, because the original plans that were submitted did not show the stair there. It showed it inside the footprint of the stair to not require the variance. So with the cost that the client has accrued doing the renovations to the home, they asked us to present to the board to ask them for the forgiveness of the contractor for doing this and see if we can press forward with it.
Is there a way to get to the third floor from the ground level bypassing the second floor?
No.
Okay.
Is there internal stairs from going to the second floor and third floor?
Correct. There is.
Okay.
And this is not built yet, right?
The stair, no.
So
Only the L-shaped stair that we're requesting to maintain is built. The other one is proposed.
So the incorrect one, the one that got built incorrectly, you're asking us to approve.
Correct.
And then you're asking us to approve yet another thing that was not here on the original plan.
Yes, because this second one that we're asking to approve is because we're required to have a landing. So I need either a landing in the side yard or a stair in the side yard.
You need a landing.
I would need a stair to get to that landing.
Or you can move the meter to where someone can reach it.
But then it has to be accessed from the ground to be able to be read.
Yeah.
So I would need a stair to get up there.
Somewhere else. You could make the argument that you move the meter here.
PSE&G has told us where we need to have the meter.
I'm sorry?
We were told where we have to have the meter in which area, and it's either on the side wall or the back wall there. So I don't have too many options.
6 feet.
The height minimum, yes.
So the utility told you had to build this there.
Yes,
I'd like to see that.
that's a PSE&G requirement. I can provide it for you if you'd like.
That'd be good to have.
Sure.
Anyone else? All right. There's no one in the audience, but I'll ask anyway. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak for or against the case? No. In this case, it will remain open for voting, okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
That's it. Yep, that's it. No, the other one adjourned.
Is that,
We're done.
no other issues, right? No other renewals or anything else?
No.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This meeting of December 4th, 2025 is now closed.
Okay, let me just turn it.
We will be back on the 18th.
I need somebody else, Rob.
You don't need that.
We need another attorney.
I thought that guy Phillips was pretty good.
Kenny actually doesn't come in. I literally said,